If God loves us, why does he allow pain? This single question has shattered more faiths than anything else in history. Millions have gazed upon a suffering child, a parent breathing their last, a world saturated with agony, and they've demanded, where is divine love in all of this? Albert Einstein grappled with this very question, and his answer was so radical that mainstream religious institutions have been sidestepping it ever since. He didn't just try to solve the problem of pain, he dissolved it completely by unveiling a truth about the nature of God that changes everything. What I'm about to share will challenge the very foundation of what you believe about divine love. It will force you to question whether the God you were taught about even exists. And in return, it will offer something far more profound. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Einstein declared that he couldn't imagine a God who rewards and punishes. You'll see why pain exists in a cosmos created by something infinite, and you'll discover a form of love far grander, far more encompassing than anything traditional religion has ever offered. But before we proceed, I need you to understand something crucial. What Einstein revealed isn't comforting. It's not a warm blanket assuring you that everything will be okay. It's truth, raw, unfiltered truth about the nature of existence itself. And frankly, most people can't handle it. They choose the soothing lie over the difficult truth. If you're still watching, you're ready for what comes next. Let's begin with the question itself. If God loves us, why does he allow pain? Notice the underlying assumptions. It assumes that God is a person, a being with human-like emotions, making deliberate choices about what to permit and what to prevent. It assumes that love equates to shielding the beloved from all suffering. It assumes that pain is an anomaly, something that shouldn't exist if a loving God truly exists. Einstein rejected every single one of these assumptions, and he had profoundly insightful reasons for doing so. In his book, The World as I See It, published in 1935, Einstein penned one of the most important statements about God ever committed to paper. He stated, "I cannot imagine a God who rewards and punishes the objects of his creation, whose purposes are modeled after our own. A God, in short, who is but a reflection of human fallibility." Read that again. Einstein cannot imagine a God who rewards and punishes. This is the very heart of his answer to the problem of pain. If God does not reward and punish, then pain isn't punishment. Disease isn't divine retribution. Tragedy isn't some celestial test. The entire framework that makes the question possible simply collapses. But Einstein didn't stop there. In the same passage, he elucidated why such a God is fundamentally inconceivable. He wrote, "A God who rewards and punishes is inconceivable because a man's actions are determined by necessity, external and internal, so that in God's eyes he cannot be responsible, any more than an inanimate object is responsible for the motions it goes through." This is absolutely crucial. Einstein was a determinist. He believed that everything that happens, including every human thought and action, is caused by preceding events according to immutable natural law. There is no free will in the way most people imagine. If there's no free will, then punishment is utterly meaningless. You cannot punish someone for actions they couldn't have avoided. You cannot reward someone for choices they were destined to make. The entire concept of a God who judges and reacts to human behavior becomes absurd. And if punishment makes no sense, then pain cannot be punishment. Pain is simply an inherent part of how reality unfolds according to natural law. Now, some might argue that this paints a bleak and heartless picture. If God doesn't care about our pain, what's the point of believing in God at all? But this is where Einstein offers something infinitely deeper than the traditional viewpoint. Einstein believed in what he termed Spinoza's God. In 1929, when a rabbi asked Einstein if he believed in God, he responded with a telegram that reverberated throughout the religious community. He wrote, "I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of what exists, not in a God who concerns himself with the fates and actions of human beings." Spinoza's God isn't a person. It isn't a being watching over you, making decisions about your life. Spinoza's God is identical with nature itself. The Latin phrase Spinoza used was Deus sive natura, meaning God or nature. They are one and the same. This is called pantheism, the belief that God and the cosmos are one inseparable entity. And it completely transforms our understanding of both love and pain. In the mainstream view, love is something God feels toward you personally. God cares about you as an individual. God has specific plans for your life. God answers your prayers. This is personal, divine love. But Einstein viewed this as a projection of human psychology onto the infinite. We imagine God loving us the way a parent loves a child, because that's the only kind of love we truly grasp. But it's, in Einstein's own words, childlike. The love that Einstein discovered in Spinoza's God is entirely different. It's not personal. It's not directed at you as an individual. It's the love that is intrinsically intertwined with the intricate tapestry of existence itself. Think about what this means. When you gaze upon the stars and feel a sense of awe, you are experiencing Spinoza's God. When you delve into the realm of mathematics and uncover the elegant laws governing the cosmos, you are encountering divine love. When you feel connected to something far greater than yourself, something infinite and eternal, that is the cosmic religious feeling that Einstein spoke of. This love doesn't shield you from pain. It includes pain. Pain is an inseparable component of the natural order. Pain is part of God, because everything is part of God. Now, let me address the glaring objection. How can pain be a part of love? How can suffering be divine? Einstein would contend that the question itself is muddled. You're still conceiving of God as a person who should behave like a benevolent parent. But Spinoza's God isn't a person. Spinoza's God doesn't make choices. Spinoza's God simply is. Consider the laws of physics. Gravity doesn't love you or hate you. Gravity simply operates according to its inherent nature. If you stumble off a cliff, gravity will pull you down. This isn't punishment. It's simply how reality works. For Einstein, God is analogous to the laws of physics, only infinitely more fundamental. God is the ultimate law underpinning all laws, the harmony residing beneath all of existence. And just as gravity won't suspend itself to save you from a fall, God won't suspend natural law to shield you from pain. But here's the profound insight. This doesn't mean the universe is cold or indifferent. It means the universe is consistent. It means reality can be understood. It means science is possible. It means there is order rather than chaos. And for Einstein, this order wasn't just an intellectual curiosity. It was the wellspring of genuine religious feeling. Einstein wrote in his essay Religion and Science in 1930, "The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion which stands at the cradle of true art and true science. Whoever does not know it and can no longer wonder, no longer marvel, is as good as dead." Einstein found his religion not in ancient texts or church doctrines, but in the contemplation of natural order. And he considered this more genuinely religious than anything mainstream religion could offer. He wrote, "I maintain that the cosmic religious feeling is the strongest and noblest motive for scientific research." This is Einstein's answer to the question of divine love. God loves not by protecting you from pain, but by being the infinite, eternal, perfectly ordered reality in which you exist. Your pain is not separate from God. Your pain is God, experiencing itself through you. Now let me share something that makes this even more personal. In 1950, a man named Michael Thompson wrote to Einstein. Michael had just lost his 11-year-old son to polio. He was devastated, broken by grief, and he reached out to Einstein for comfort. Einstein wrote back with a letter that has become famous among those who understand his philosophy. He wrote, "A human being is part of the whole, called by us cosmos, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty." This is the key to understanding Einstein's view of love and pain. The reason pain hurts so much is that we experience ourselves as separate individuals. My pain is my pain. My loss is my loss. The cosmos seems indifferent to my suffering because I feel cut off from everything else. But Einstein is saying this separation is an illusion, an optical delusion of consciousness. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are the cosmos, experiencing itself from a particular perspective. When you lose someone you love, the cosmos has not taken something from you. The cosmos is experiencing loss through you. When you feel pain, it is not happening to you from outside. It is the cosmos feeling pain in the particular location called you. This might sound abstract, but it has profound practical implications. If your suffering is the cosmos's suffering, then you are never alone in your pain. The same infinite reality that creates stars and galaxies is present in your grief. You are not a small, isolated being abandoned by an indifferent God. You are an expression of the infinite, experiencing one of its countless aspects. And here is the path forward that Einstein suggests. Instead of asking why God allows pain, you widen your circle of compassion. You recognize that all beings suffer. You see your pain as connected to the pain of everyone who has ever lived or ever will live. And in that recognition, the prison of the separate self begins to dissolve. This is not a solution to pain. Pain remains real, loss remains devastating, but the meaning of pain transforms. It is no longer evidence of God's absence or indifference. It is evidence of your participation in something infinite. Now let me tell you something remarkable about the man who wrote that letter to Einstein. Michael Thompson was a rabbi. He was the political director of the World Jewish Congress, a man of deep faith. And yet, when his son died, he did not reach out to his fellow rabbis or religious mentors. He reached out to Einstein, a physicist, a man who rejected the personal God that Michael had devoted his life to serving. Why would a rabbi seek comfort from someone who denied the very foundation of mainstream religion? Because Michael sensed something. He sensed that Einstein understood something about existence that went beyond conventional religious categories, something that could speak to his grief in a way that traditional theodicy could not. And Einstein's response did not disappoint. Instead of offering platitudes about God's plan or the mystery of divine love, Einstein offered Michael something far more radical. He told him that his sense of being separate from his son, separate from the cosmos, was an illusion, that his grief, as real as it was, arose from a mistaken view of reality. This is not cold comfort. This is profound comfort. It is telling the grieving father that his connection to his son cannot be broken by death because that connection was never separate from the infinite whole to begin with. There is a tragic postscript to this story. 11 months after receiving Einstein's letter, Michael Thompson himself died of a heart attack. He was a young father, leaving behind a wife and 2 daughters. One of those daughters was not yet born when he died. We do not know if Einstein's letter brought Michael peace in his final months, but the letter survives, and it continues to offer what Einstein intended, a way of understanding pain that does not require a personal God to justify it or explain it away. Let me share another aspect of Einstein's philosophy that relates directly to the question of divine love. Einstein was fascinated by Spinoza not just because of his concept of God, but because of his understanding of human psychology. Spinoza believed that most of our suffering comes from confused thinking. We imagine ourselves as separate individuals fighting against a hostile universe. We imagine God as a cosmic parent who should protect us. And when reality fails to match our expectations, we suffer. But for Spinoza, and for Einstein, the path to peace is not getting what we want. It is understanding reality as it actually is. Spinoza wrote that the highest human good is the knowledge of the union which the mind has with the whole of nature. This is almost exactly what Einstein wrote to Michael Thompson about widening the circle of compassion to embrace the whole of nature in its beauty. When you truly understand that you are not separate from nature, that you are nature experiencing itself, something shifts. Pain does not disappear, but the secondary suffering that comes from feeling abandoned, from asking, why me? From raging against an unfair universe, that suffering begins to dissolve. This is what Spinoza called blessedness, and it is what Einstein found in his cosmic religion. Now, some might object that this is just philosophical escapism. Easy for Einstein to talk about cosmic unity when he was not the one losing a child. But Einstein knew suffering. He lived through 2 world wars. He fled Nazi Germany, losing his homeland forever. His first marriage ended in a painful divorce. His son, Eddie, developed schizophrenia and spent much of his life in psychiatric institutions. Einstein carried an enormous weight of guilt about not being able to help him. Einstein wasn't speaking from a position of detachment. He was speaking from a position of hard-won wisdom. He had faced pain and loss, and he had found in Spinoza's philosophy a way to bear it without bitterness. In fact, Einstein's embrace of determinism, his belief that everything happens according to necessity, was partly a response to his own suffering. He wrote that Schopenhauer's saying, "A man can do what he wants, but he cannot want what he wants," accompanied him throughout life and reconciled him with the actions of others, even when those actions were rather painful. If everything is determined, then there's no point in blaming God or anyone else for your pain. There's no point in asking, why me? The question assumes that things could have been different. But for Einstein, they could not have been different. Everything that happens is the only thing that could have happened, given the prior state of the cosmos. This might sound fatalistic, but Einstein did not experience it that way. He experienced it as liberation, liberation from regret, from anger, from the endless cycle of asking, why? Let me go deeper into why Einstein rejected the personal God so completely. In a letter from 1915 to the physicist Edgar Meyer, Einstein wrote something remarkably blunt. He said, "I see only with deep regret that God punishes so many of his children for their numerous stupidities, for which only he himself can be held responsible. In my opinion, only his non-existence could excuse him." This is devastating to the mainstream view. Einstein is saying that if a personal God exists, that God is morally responsible for human stupidity and the suffering it causes, and only the non-existence of such a God could excuse the suffering we see. But Einstein was not an atheist. He said so repeatedly. What he rejected was not God, but a particular conception of God, the God who is like a cosmic parent, watching over us, making decisions, rewarding and punishing. The God Einstein believed in, Spinoza's God, cannot be held morally responsible for suffering because Spinoza's God does not make choices. Spinoza's God is not a moral agent. Spinoza's God simply is. This is why Einstein could find deep religious feeling in a cosmos that includes immense suffering. He was not asking Spinoza's God to prevent pain. That would be like asking gravity to stop working. He was marveling at the order and beauty of existence as a whole, including the parts that hurt. In 1954, Einstein wrote a letter that has become known as the God Letter. It sold at auction for nearly $3 million in 2018. In it, Einstein called the Bible a collection of honorable but still primitive legends. He rejected the idea of a chosen people. He dismissed belief in a personal God as childish. But in that same letter, and in many other writings, Einstein affirmed his deep religiosity. He called himself a deeply religious non-believer. He said that anyone who does not feel AW before the cosmos is as good as dead. This is the key to understanding Einstein. He was not rejecting religion. He was rejecting a particular form of religion that he considered immature, and he was offering something in its place that he considered far more profound. Now, Jen, what does all of this mean for you personally? What do you do with this understanding? First, stop asking why God allows pain. The question assumes a God who could prevent pain, but chooses not to. Einstein rejected this God entirely. Pain exists because pain is part of nature, and nature is God. Second, recognize that your sense of being a separate individual is, in Einstein's words, an optical delusion. You are not a small, isolated being facing an indifferent cosmos. You are the cosmos itself, temporarily focused in a particular form. Your pain is real, but it is not happening to you from outside. It is happening within you as an expression of the whole. Third, widen your circle of compassion. This was Einstein's prescription for transcending the prison of the self. Instead of asking why you suffer, recognize that all beings suffer. Connect with others through shared experience. Find meaning not in avoiding pain, but in responding to it with expanded awareness. Fourth, cultivate what Einstein called the cosmic religious feeling. Look at the stars, study science, marvel at the order of nature. Find in this contemplation a sense of connection to something infinite and eternal. This is the divine love that Einstein found in Spinoza's God. Not personal protection from pain, but participation in something far greater than yourself. If this video has shifted how you see divine love and human suffering, if you feel that you have glimpsed something true that was hidden from you, then consider supporting this channel with super thanks. When you click that button, you're not just supporting content. You're supporting the spread of ideas that can transform how people see their suffering. You're helping others discover what Einstein really believed about God and love and pain. That is meaningful work, and you are part of it. Let me bring this full circle. If God loves us, why does he allow pain? Einstein's answer is that the question is based on a false premise. The personal God who could prevent pain, but does not, is a human projection, a childlike conception of the divine, the real God, Spinoza's God. The God Einstein believed in does not make choices about what to allow or prevent. This God is identical with nature itself. Pain exists because nature includes pain. Nature includes birth and death, joy and suffering, creation and destruction. All of it is God. All of it is divine. Not because suffering is good, but because suffering is part of the infinite whole. And love, in this framework, is not protection from pain. Love is the intricate tapestry of existence. Love is the fact that reality can be understood. Love is the cosmic religious feeling that arises when you contemplate the mystery of being alive in an infinite cosmos. This is not the warm embrace of a personal God who cares about your problems. But Einstein would say that warm embrace was always an illusion, a projection of childhood needs onto the cosmos. What he offers instead is something more honest and ultimately more profound. You are not separate from God. You are an expression of God. Your pain is not evidence of God's absence. Your pain is God experiencing itself through you. And the path forward is not to ask why, but to widen your circle of compassion until it embraces all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. That is Einstein's answer. That is what he believed until the day he died. And now, the question is, what you will do with it. I want to hear from you now. Einstein said he cannot imagine a God who rewards and punishes. He said pain is part of nature, and nature is God. Does this view comfort you or disturb you? Do you agree that personal divine love is a childlike projection, or do you believe Einstein went too far? Comment agree if you think Einstein was right about the nature of God and pain. Comment disagree if you believe in a personal God who loves you and has reasons for allowing suffering. I read every comment in the first 2 hours, and I will respond to as many as I can, because this is the conversation that matters. This is the question at the heart of human existence, and Einstein gave us an answer that most people have never heard. Now, it is your turn to respond. One final thought before you go. Einstein lived his final years at Princeton, walking the same streets every day, working on equations he never solved, watching the world change around him. He had become a symbol of genius, but few people understood what he actually believed. When he died in April of 1955, he faced death with the same serenity he had described to grieving parents. He refused surgery. He said he had done his share, and it was time to go. He asked only for his glasses and his equations. This is the peace that comes from understanding, not from believing that a personal God loves you and has a plan, but from recognizing that you are part of something infinite, something eternal, something that includes both joy and pain. In its endless unfolding, Einstein did not escape pain. He experienced it fully, but he transformed his relationship to it. And that transformation is available to you, too. The question, if God loves us, why does he allow pain, assumes that love means protection from suffering. But perhaps real love is something different. Perhaps real love is being given the chance to exist at all, to experience this strange and beautiful cosmos, even for a moment, even with all its pain. That is what Einstein found. That is what Spinoza taught. And now, you know it too.